That should be enough. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning into Pineapples and Pam. Pineapples with Pam. We are your hosts, Pat,
Andrea.
And Mike.
and this is our 535th episode of Pineapples with Pam.
Nice.
Today's movie is Tron, which was chosen by me. We announced that last week.
Tron Legacy,
Tron Legacy. That's right. That's
the
right.
remake.
Well, the sequel.
Oh no, sorry, the sequel.
The
Yes,
sequel.
yes.
And so I, as a kid, saw Tron and was like obsessed with it. It was it's one of the earliest movies that I can think of that like really had an impact on me. Just visually, it like I was like enamored by the visuals. The idea of like being inside of a video game was just a dream come true for me. And so when the sequel came out in 2010, I was very, very excited. um and so with that being said, Andrea, would you like to give us some trivia about the movie?
Sure. Let's see. Do you guys know what two actors returned to reprise their roles in Tron Legacy?
Well, I know that the guy who played Tron came back.
Yeah, Bruce Boxleitner and
I don't know the other one.
Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges, yeah.
Oh, duh, Jeff Bridges. Duh.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's how long it's been since I've seen the original.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That I forgot that Captain Bridges was in there. But yeah, okay. So I did know both. Haha.
Yes. So that was them. Was the movie shot in 2D or 3D?
I believe it was shot in 3D.
I thought it was shot in 3D.
Or I think it was shot in 2D, but it was released in 3D.
Oh, wait, I was actually confused by what you meant by shot in 2D or 3D. So do you mean 3D as in like actual 3D with the glasses? Whoa, 3D?
Yeah.
Well, yes, but no. So it was both actually. The part that he's in the real world are all shot on 2D, and everything that they are in the Tron world is all shot on 3D.
Right.
Now, what do you mean shot on 3D? I didn't know that we could do that.
A particular look. I don't remember if there was like a glasses thing.
There was. Yeah.
Yeah. Then I'm sure if we wore glasses at the Tron parts, then we would see the extra 3D elements.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
It's the only movie that I've ever willingly gone in to watch in 3D because a lot of people were like, it's actually really awesome if you see it in IMAX with 3D. It's really cool.
Well, knowing how the video game scene, like the Tron world scenes play out, would actually be really dope to see in 3D. If they planned it to be 3D, you know what I mean?
Yes, yeah. They did that intentionally, yeah.
Yeah, that must have been dope.
It was very cool.
Who did the soundtrack for the movie?
Daft Punk, boy.
Yep. That I knew, and I recognized their cameo in there. Yep.
Do you guys know how much one of the custom Tron suits cost?
Oh my god.
What do you mean? Like like to buy for consumers?
No, for the production people to yeah.
So you're talking about just one, and how many? And I'm assuming that like each one that we saw was custom made for each person, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
So you're talking about multiple suits and how much one of those suits costs.
Yeah,
I'm gonna guess like 10 grand each.
Damn, that was gonna be my guess. I'll go 10K and $1, Bob. Okay.
60K, 60.
What?
Holy shit!
Wow.
The wardrobe budget for this entire film was $13 million.
Well,
Wow. Was
holy
there
shit.
in your trivia exploration, was there a reasoning or slight detail as to why each one was that much?
Yes, because of like all of the lighting and stuff is all like very specialized on all of the Tron suits.
Mm.
They had to like because the lights had to follow the contours of each person's individual body.
Yeah.
I remember watching like a special feature thing like many years ago about the costuming, but I don't think they mentioned anything about
Yeah.
the cost. That is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no wonder Jeff's ass looks so good.
Uh uh how many custom helmets, I'm sorry, how many prop helmets were used?
Prop.
Ooh, prop helmets.
You mean for like the light cycles, like
So,
this?
so prop helmets are like things that are like manufactured on a line. A custom helmet would be something that they commission from somebody. I'm at
Mm.
like how many, because they have prop cars, right? They'll have like a main car that they do all of the primary shooting in, and then they have like secondary cars that they will blow up and that they
Right.
will
Sure,
crash
sure. Yeah.
stuff. So how many prop helmets do you think they had?
1,000.
Patty?
I I will also say in the range of like 1,000, because I mean like there was a lot of extras, but not like that many extras.
And I don't know how many you like. I don't remember seeing a lot of helmets just like getting, you know.
Well, all of the like bad programs, all of the red programs, they like almost all of
Oh,
them
that's
had
totally fair.
helmets.
Oh yeah, that's totally fair.
Is zero. Every helmet was custom made for every single person that wore a helmet.
Oh wow.
That's fucking awesome.
So
Like,
that probably goes
oh,
into the
like
whole $13
$1
million
million.
Damn.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
Well, at least I know where the budget went because some of my issues
Yeah.
with the movie are maybe where the budget could have been spent a little bit more on.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah, like Jeff Bridges' face when he's young.
Yeah.
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 Whoa, all
What
right,
like
we're gonna
one
have
of
to get
those.
into that.
Wait,
We're gonna have to get
wait,
into that because
hold on. One last trivia thing. One last
okay.
who else do you think were considered for the role of Sam Flynn?
Oh, let's
No,
see.
Sam's the son, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, let's see.
Uh,
2010. I'd
Shia
say
LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf, maybe like Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal maybe. In this time,
close,
okay,
close.
we would
Chris
who?
Pine, Casey Affleck, Chris Pine, Ryan Gosling, and Michael Stahl David. I don't know who that last one is.
Oh wait,
Or maybe that
Well,
text fucking it up.
knowing
no
how this,
Michael. Oh,
No, that was a copy paste. So that's Michael Stahl David. I don't know who that is.
Michael Stalder.
I don't know. It was
Nope, never mind.
STAHL hyphen DAVID.
Michael Oh yeah, no, that's not a typo. That's oh, I could see it. Um, I've
was
seen him in some stuff. I've seen him in I think mostly like TV, not TV. He's been in movies. Um, I could see it. Ryan Gosling would have been too like he's too moody for something like that.
yeah,
But
yeah.
Chris Pine would have been really good.
Chris Pine could have been good, but I also think that for to the now I recognize the actor who played Sim, but I also don't know from what. Um,
His name is Garrett Hedlund.
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know what else I recognized him from, but I think he did a good job as his son.
yeah. I
I, I
so
think he did a good Sam. I think he was a good Sam Flynn, and knowing the how much what I, or at least knowing what I appreciate from the other actors mentioned, I'm actually glad that they still landed on Garrett, because I think all those other high profile actors would have added their spice to the character, and I don't know how much it would have felt like it was Jeff Bridges' son.
That's fair. I to be to like in all fairness, I think that Sam Flynn is a relatively two-dimensional character. He's not like super fleshed out as like a character, right? Like he's
Yeah.
kind of just like
He's like your yeah. He kind of is like just like a mediocre white dude.
yeah. He's kind of like generic hero guy, which
Yeah.
is fine because like I don't think that that role really called for much more than that. So I think you're actually right about that, Mike. That like having a Ryan Gosling or like a Chris Pine, they have too much of like their own like thing going on, and I think it
Yeah.
probably would have made it like maybe a little. I don't know. It would have been kind of
Like
weird.
like yeah, Ryan Gosling would have just become Tron, a driver legacy, right? And it would have been like Ryan Gosling and Driver,
Yeah.
right?
And
Like it's Tron. And then you got like Chris Pine, who I don't know why, but I imagine him just as more of a uh like a bold leader character, as
Yeah.
opposed to what Sam's character ends up being, which is not as much of that leader character and more of the ignorant kid who's thrust upon something, right?
Right.
And
Who's thrust into the middle of like a
yeah,
fate and
and Chris Pine, I feel like, if he's playing somebody, he's like really good at playing that role. So whatever role he is in, I just don't think he plays that ignorant character
sure.
often.
well, I
You know
mean,
what I mean?
his role is fucking Kirk that he started off that way.
He started off Kirk as
Kirk in the Star Trek movies. He's
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. When they show him as a younger person before he joined Starfleet, he's totally that ignorant.
Oh,
No,
actually,
he's still got that leadership quality though to him. You know what I mean? Like he still
Yeah.
plays Kirk as but Kirk when he was younger still had that like umph as a character,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it's not like, Kirk as a young person was not the kind of character that Sam Flynn would be, I think. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, I mean, granted, maybe I'm just like thinking on the spot, knowing that, like you said, I just found out now that Chris Pine was a potential actor for them. So I'm kind of thinking how I would have felt about it. You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean,
Um,
regardless,
I
I
guess
think
all in all, I think Garrett was a great pick. I think
yeah.
Garrett did a great job for the character. You know what I mean? And it's not like, Sam Flynn was my favorite character in the movie, right? But that's not also Garrett. That's not Garrett's fault. I think that's the writing of the movie for Sam.
Right. There wasn't really too much that I think could have been too much more that could have been done with him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, as far as what like synopsis of the movie, I mean, like what? All right. For those who haven't seen the movie, the basic shtick. Now, as I guess as the usual disclaimer, we're gonna end up talking about spoilers at some point, right? So if you aren't a spoiler person, listen to the synopsis and then turn it off, right? And then go watch it and then come back. Point being, uh, this movie's a sequel to the original, right? And the son who loses his dad as a kid is like upset, like is aware of Tron World in terms of what his father was trying to achieve, but no one I think really got to see it in the real world, right?
No, nobody has seen the grid other than Kevin Flynn.
Right. So, all of a sudden, Padre goes missing. No one knows why. Everyone assumes abandonment and pressure from like, revealed wide thing. And then, it comes as he grows into a teenager, the kind of rebellious corporate son, where he's like this company was supposed to be for free software. You know what I mean? And so he becomes kind of this rebel that will eventually, lead him back into the Tron world after receiving a message from Padre, and and then he finds himself in Tron world, and then the adventures continue there, right?
Yep. That's
Yep.
that's pretty much
So
it.
yeah, and then like obviously I feel like on a without too much of a spoiler ish, the whole movie focuses around where Jeff Bridges went,
Where has
right?
he been for 20 years?
Right. Where has he been for 20 years? What's the beef, right? And then accomplishing the resolution to that beef,
Right.
right? Cool. That's probably the best least spoiler thing I could probably achieve personally,
Yeah.
right?
I mean that pretty much sums it up. And like they the I think that like once you get onto the grid, once you're in the grid, the action of the movie like really like it's pretty quick. They give you like the setup in the
Yeah.
beginning. It's like get kind of like setting up the stakes and everything, and then as soon as like they're on the grid, like shit starts happening. So they kind of don't waste any more time after that initial setup. And
Yeah.
I mean, so so I would like to start with Andrea, because I know that we kind of spoke briefly earlier, like
You
before
didn't
this.
like this movie originally, right, Andrea?
I still don't.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, this movie, I'm kind of with you, but yeah, you go ahead and start. It's not my favorite movie. I'll just say that. I didn't think it was a trash can. I didn't think it was a dumpster fire, but it definitely was not my favorite
Uh,
movie.
it's not a dumpster fire, but it is for a very specific audience, and I am not part of that audience.
Word.
Because it's cool. There's so much media out there nowadays, and I'm the kind of person that like there is a type of media for everybody, but
Hmm.
but not every piece of media is for everyone. Like
Yes,
Mm,
some shit just isn't for you, and I
for
don't
sure.
in a bad way, just in you're not gonna dig it, but
Yeah,
somebody else is gonna dig it. I do not dig it.
sure.
I can see why other people in a different audience would like it, but it is not something that I would have purposely watched on my own.
Right, for
sure.
sure. Um, so I think that like definitely it has like kind of like you said, it is for like very specific audience. And I think that like a big part of why I liked why I was so interested in seeing the sequel in the first place was because of nostalgia. And I think knew that going in, that they were going to have like a lot of people flocking to it simply for nostalgia reasons, and just being like a into like technology and video games and stuff like that. I think that played a big role in why I did end up liking it. And like you said, like don't get me wrong, like I do love this movie, but it does for sure have its issues. Um, it does, and I
It,
do love it. I think
it's a
visually,
very male gaze, male centric, male story movie.
yes, for sure.
Like 100%. Every woman, every female looking femme presenting character services the men, some literally, some figuratively.
Yeah.
Right,
Like,
right,
I
right,
mean,
right.
like when like the hot robot ladies like come out of the wall just
oh
to like get him
yeah,
naked, and
yeah,
like it's like wow, like this
yeah.
is really obvious that
Lit-
there's like
Literal service. And then when Cora is in the dude's like apartment, the way she's just laying and lounging is a very, very like the pose she took is very for the male gaze. Like
Oh, well, there's that too. I was even just thinking that she didn't even play like a huge. I feel like for someone who was almost made to be very badass, she ends up being,
she's completely in service of
yeah, of like the male side of things. So even though she should be able to completely wipe the floor with like most of, like, all right, there is no reason how Sam
yeah,
can fight off some of these people, and then yet Korra gets her arm hit
Arm
off.
chopped off. Yeah,
That
yeah, for
was
sure.
one of my big notes was this dude just magically knows how to play all of these games and super better than anybody else,
Yeah.
Right. The
including the
only yeah.
woman who's been here her whole life.
Yes. And the only thing that I think Sam had any actual justification for having a skill set for was the bike riding, was the light cycles.
The
Right.
bike riding, yep, for
Because of,
sure.
yeah,
Right.
that-
Outside of that, they didn't
like,
show him being a gamer.
Hmm.
There wasn't any aspect of him really be well, all right. Yeah, they showed that he had tech skills, right? Because he did the whole hacking thing and he was able to hack the company where even the other brilliant fucking Steve Jobs kind of esque person,
Right,
you
but
know what I mean, does the
that doesn't
thing.
translate to
Correct.
parkour.
It doesn't translate to parkour. It doesn't translate to video game skills.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
navigation.
I would whoop that person in Guilty Gear just because they could know how to fucking like hack something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like knowing how to play a game and all that stuff. I just don't think was translated or understood. There was no explanation. It's not like Neo who can fucking learn kung fu by getting it downloaded into him,
Yeah.
right?
That makes sense.
So all of a sudden, even though a lot of Sam's movements in the beginning were very amateurish, right? He's barely dodging, right?
Yeah.
It does look like he's kind of initially struggling to get used to the world. Nah, by those action scenes that we're referring to, where Korra gets her arm chopped off, he's essentially a kung fu guy now.
Yeah, like most people, I feel like would get a montage before they would get that skill.
Right.
Right.
He like immediately is dumped into the world and magically just right off rip. He has a few stumbles, but like his learning curve is better than anybody I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
Right. Oh
And I
yeah.
think
What's that called? The Mary Sue, right? He's got that total Mary Sue vibe. Is that what that was referred to?
What is that again?
what the trope Mary Sue?
Yeah, the trope Mary Sue, where the person just has the skills to do everything they fucking need to without any actual explainable reason. Like, again, he's able to grip and jump and know how to jump across all those arenas, right?
Right.
Um,
Yeah, I mean,
it-
he drives a motorcycle, and we only see him driving a regular motorcycle and not doing any tricks and shit with it. So,
Right.
and then he
right.
right from that to a light cycle where he can, do all of this like jumping and this crazy like BMX trick shit. Like,
Yeah, there definitely is a lot more that he does on the grid that he ever is shown to be capable of in real life.
yeah,
Yeah,
Right.
and
yeah.
I think that like the implication was that because he's a user and the users are you know more capable than programs, but there wasn't enough of an like if that was the implication, I think that they needed a little bit more um
They,
some sort of like dialogue that like that made that implication feel a little bit more grounded, because it just if that's what you're meant to guess, then it kind of it just feels weird.
yeah,
Yeah. Also, I kind of now, granted, I wasn't gonna try and be like, maybe we should, like, I didn't want to say we should watch the first one before seeing Legacy per se, because I think that they can each be treated separately. But I say this because I don't remember how capable Jeff Bridges was in the original movie.
He's also kind of like kind of like a little OP, I guess.
Okay.
Um,
So then,
but he has
what
Tron with
happened?
him.
But what happened? Because in the Tron Legacy movie, I feel like they just treated him as like he didn't fight once while Tron was whooping motherfuckers in that flashback scene. You know what I mean? And he
Oh, when
like
when Clue pulls up and
yeah, when Clue does the Clue coup, right? So once
oh man.
once the Clue coup goes down, there's like Tron is whooping people and unfortunately then dies, right? And which I think that for such an important character from the original movie, they let that death scene happen in a flashback without any like, I don't know, real emphasis to the or callback to the original person. You know what I mean? Or like the original character. I don't know. I felt like they just kind of threw that away. And then
What
Jeff
the
Tron,
specifically Tron's death?
specifically Tron, yeah, specifically Tron, right?
Yeah,
Because the
yeah.
OG Tron. Um, the movie's called Tron Legacy, and Tron gets fucking picked off in the flashback.
In a flashback, technically off screen. You don't even see him get got. But I mean,
Correct.
that's like, so they do that so that
Correct.
you're like, oh, who's Rinsler? So that you don't realize that he's Rinsler, but like you don't even like the Rinsler reveal when you realize that it's Tron. It's not
It
even
took
really that impactful.
so long to understand that Rinsler and Tron were the same.
Yeah, it's like the end of the third act.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't really feel like that does the name of the movie justice because again, the movie's named Tron
And it's all
Legacy. It's all about Sam Flynn and Jesus Jeff Bridges.
oh
Uh,
God, so many parallels to Christianity and Buddhism. Holy crap.
yeah,
Yeah,
Good,
yeah,
good. Can I tell you a couple of things that I did like about the film?
yes,
yeah.
I
please.
will begrudgingly admit
Please.
a couple of things. So I noticed fucking what's his face, the Scarecrow from the Batman movies was in.
Cillian Murphy.
Yeah,
Cillian
Yeah,
Murphy.
he's the Steve Jobs wannabe guy in the beginning.
Yeah.
yeah. Did you
Yeah.
notice he said a line? Tell them it's all just part of the plan.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah. It's
yeah,
like a
I
little.
actually didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it's like a
Yep.
little
And
Dark Knight nod.
and Bridges
Hmm.
a couple of the dude nods in dialogue as well.
Yes, dude.
Oh well, first off, it woke up with like, yeah, man, and I was
Yeah,
like,
man.
oh my god, I was like,
You're
you
messing
fucking
with my Zen thing, man.
Yes.
yo,
Dude, he's honestly the best part of the movie. Like his lines
No,
when
as much as I did enjoy those couple of moments, my favorite characters are Castor,
yeah,
the bar guy, in all white.
Zeus, yeah.
Yeah, Castor, Zeus. They're the same person, I guess.
yeah,
He actually played Lucian in Underworld.
yeah.
Yeah, I did. It took me so long. He looks so different in this movie. I was
Oh yeah, his
yeah.
hair is like way bigger in Underworld, right?
yeah,
He
yeah.
looks
Well,
more.
he's wearing heavier clothes. He's got
Yeah.
like more of that facial hair kind of vibe.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a big fan of that actor. And of course, it sucks that as a big fan of the actor, I can't remember the fucking actor's name off the top of my head right now.
Like
But anything he's in, I love.
Michael Sheen.
Michael
Michael
Sheen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not a name I thought that would be his. He looked more like an Archibald. You know what I mean? So, you know.
And then one of the I don't remember his character's name, but he was bald, but he had a plastic thing over his face, and he is Franklin from True Blood.
Oh, the fucking Clue's like right hand guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Him and Michael Sheen, I felt brought their acting A game. Honestly, I felt like everybody else
Yeah.
phoning it in, except for the couple of times that Bridges got to make the dude.
Yeah. I would definitely agree with that. I think that like I think there's actually I actually have like a theory, and it's one of my notes, and I think that I think it's kind of part of the same thing. I I think that like when you're acting, because a lot of the movie is just like in front of a green screen, and
That was my note. Way too much green screen that was not properly utilized I was so bored looking at it.
it is it is very samey. There's not a lot of texture.
Yes, that's what it is. It's the lack of texture.
Yeah,
That's
everything's kind of smooth and yeah.
Yeah.
I just think that I think that if you're in front of a green screen trying to pretend that there's like all this stuff around you, it's kind of I imagine that it would be really difficult to like really put yourself in that space, without. That's why I think that like CG is great, but it should be used more to enhance and not to like fill in the whole thing.
Yeah, not to like replace Jeff Bridges.
Yeah. Well, okay, so let's talk about that. I actually think that like right now it looks like shit, obviously. But I think that for 2010 that was like pretty top of the line stuff.
I guess.
You know what? Maybe I can't think of anything off the top of my head to compare it to. So I guess I can add 12 years of CG age
Yeah,
to
and
that.
I also
But
think that might have been one of the first times that we had seen that they had done something like that. Like Disney kind of does that a lot now, right? Like if you think about all the Star Wars movies, Leia,
They use it well, and they texturize like mad people, so you don't feel like pulled out of it. Like it was so.
yeah.
I was totally
Now here's the thing. I'm
immersed.
just gonna try and throw this out there. I can't really recall other movies that might just be able to be like that I could pull up as examples for higher quality CG in 2010. But what I do know is that the Hobbit movies came out more recently than 2010 and were also perfect examples of bad CG in a movie,
Yeah.
right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
I also do remember seeing that movie and saying, "Ooh," you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
not in a good way. You know what I mean?
I mean, Jurassic Park has aged like a fine fucking wine, and that is an old ass movie, and all that CG looks clean as fuck.
Right,
Are not
right.
it was before Tron Legacy.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
I guess what I'm trying, but the CG there also wasn't human CG. That was also dinosaur CG, which I would at least like to give credit for. I think humans are very good at picking apart inhuman detail.
yeah,
Still an
You
organic
know,
thing, whereas the Tron world is all like buildings and atmosphere, and it's still like they could have made that shit sick, and they
yeah.
it wasn't an organic thing. It was something that you really can create. Well, other than I guess atmosphere is kind of organic, but whatever.
The world, I think, obviously had opportunities, and I think that no matter what, I'm really trying to think about any other CG humans that I've seen. I feel like I personally have never really truly been impressed with them. I've been more impressed with video game human CG than
yeah.
film human
It's
CG.
I think it's
Yeah.
really difficult to like mix the two. It really is
Yeah,
hard.
and I think it's very obvious. And unfortunately for the movie, I like there was a part of me that quite literally thought that Clue was already in the real world.
I don't think
That's how bad the CG was to me.
I think that like I think that like the problem is that like humans like if you're watching a movie where everybody is a real person and then all of a sudden there's this weird CG person, it's very jarring. You're like, what the fuck?
it's
But if
that
you
Uncanny Valley shit.
Yeah, exactly. If you take that same CG person and put them in with other CG, then you won't even think about it. You'll just be like,
Correct.
oh yeah, it's just
Would
CG.
have looked sick.
Right,
Yeah.
correct. And I'll tell you what, also what I think ended up backfiring it is that, okay, let's say that hypothetically they were able to pull off another way to get young Jeff Bridges, right, to look better when he was with his son for that first fucking scene.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? It's really just this first scene area where you see young Jeff, because young Jeff as Clue makes sense. And him
Yes.
looking CG as Clue would make more sense, right?
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah.
Because then we see old Hefe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel.
And
Go ahead.
um and so when we have Jeff Bridges as his old self looking the way he's supposed to look, and then you have evil CG young Clue, like young Jeff Clue, right? That to me would have actually felt better than seeing young Jeff in that CG, to then see young Jeff again in CG knowing that it's already likely Clue, because I'm not
Yeah,
gonna lie, that wasn't like a, oh, what a twist,
yeah.
you know, like though, like I don't know how I knew it was Clue before fucking Sam did. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, he didn't know what Clue even looked like. He didn't know that.
The audience doesn't know what Clue looked like. Did they make Clue at the end of the original Tron?
No, no, no,
So
no.
we don't even know what Clue looked like. Dude,
But we
Clue
do.
could have
But
been a
we
box.
no. But but we do know that from Tron, we know what the grid looks like. To him, to Sam, the grid is this abstract concept. For all he knows, exactly, he could know that for all he knows, like it's just like pixels and like dots and colors. Like we know that the grid looks real. So I don't know. I think that like it does make sense that we know it's Clue right away, but for Sam to not know, I think that tracks internally.
Gotcha. All right, fair enough. No, fair enough. But I'm just saying that if they could have pulled off young Jeff looking better in that beginning scene, it would have made the whole movie feel more complete and not like bad CG,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Because then the evil Jeff Bridges, i.e. Clue, would actually fit that role as a computer program, and people could be like, well, he would look a little CG, but he is a computer program. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? As opposed to like what was Jeff's excuse in the beginning.
I feel like I know that the grid is supposed to look real, but I feel like if the grid if everybody in the grid all looked like that video game style of Clue, and then only the older Flynn and the younger Flynn looked human, that would have made way more sense to my brain.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, definitely, because like that actually almost would have made it easier to like kind of
Understand and to
yeah.
they probably would have gotten away with that Tron trick better at the end. Like, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
Um.
right
it
on.
Now,
jointed with Clue at being the only one that had that weird video game style look to him.
Hey folks, Pat here. So we had to stop the episode about halfway through, right where it breaks, because I was fidgeting with a pocket knife and I accidentally stabbed myself with it. So we took a little break, so the jump might be a little bit jarring. Just wanted to let everybody know. It also is a good time to let you know that after the episode, we ended up kind of getting pretty deep into some other topics about the movie that we didn't discuss during the official allotted time of the episode. So, once it's over, stick around. We mentioned the movie that we'll be reviewing next week, and we also have a little bit more conversation about some of the religious allegories that we picked up on in the movie. Thanks for listening, guys.
I was just gonna leave it at, I thought it was a little cheesy, right, for Jeff Bridges.
Yeah.
They probably could have tried to figure something out. Maybe if they didn't spend $60,000 per suit, they could have invested. And that was what I was referencing earlier with the budget, right? Maybe if they didn't put $13 million towards just the suit wardrobe for the grid, they
Yeah.
could have fit a budget or scenario to accommodate what that concern was, that I know wasn't just what we're experiencing now. Those reviews were in 2010
Word.
about the quality of human CG.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm gonna say that I'm gonna disagree with that. I think that like I seem to remember it being pretty. I seem to remember people being like, "Damn, that looks good. That's good CG."
Mm,
I think that it at the time I think that it for sure did not age well, but I do think that at the time that was considered to be pretty like well done.
okay.
Um
Well, any other like, all right, so I guess I don't think I've actually said any of the positive things I liked about the movie yet, which I don't want to give the impression that I just fucking hate the movie.
Yeah,
But
Andrea is actually the only one that said anything nice about the movie. So
yeah,
far.
ironically, right?
I don't know
Yeah.
how it was. I just tried to find a couple of things that I liked. And
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
I think that it's an auditory like masterpiece.
so,
Honestly, I think
so
that the sound for this movie is incredible.
who are you guys' favorite characters?
Definitely
Caster,
Jeff.
Wait, one at a time.
Sorry.
you can
Patrick.
go ahead, Pat.
Oh, definitely Jeff Bridges. Definitely Kevin. So I just love his like, yeah, man. Like I love his. It's basically the Big Lebowski in cyberspace.
Yeah.
I love it.
Ash, the same for you?
I like how that's the assumption because of who I am as a person, and yeah, probably that would be a safe assumption. But I also really liked Caster,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
like, and
But
yeah, I would probably say that those were my two favorite characters in the movie. Part of my like, yeah, the movie to me when I watch it, I think of it as an a good fun movie that I would watch with young kids ish age, right?
Right.
yeah.
Um, it's got the kind of violence that you can still, like, I mean, like, I'll put it this way, we've covered this in this podcast before. Willow was pitched as a kids movie and was way more horrifying, right, to children
Yeah. Yeah. For
Yeah.
than
sure.
watching this kind of movie with this kind of action where
Mhm.
most of the violence is just explodey CG and not
Yeah.
really blood, right? So it's a good action movie if you're looking for a good time. It's got its humor points. It's got all the classic tropes of, like, Sam Flynn throwing the he throws the disc at Rinsler, right?
Mhm.
And he does the crazy dodges and stuff like that, and then Sam just has that, like, classic Indiana Jones moment of just like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
It's got that good
Um,
at the end.
so there's plenty of humor in the movie that people can find to enjoy. Obviously, if you like Jeff Bridges, then you will definitely get to enjoy when he steals the show at the end, you know, in his own way.
Oh,
Not to say that, like, he does steal the movie, but
you mean the
uh,
way he becomes an airbender right at the very end of the movie?
yeah,
Yeah.
yes,
What the fuck was that?
uh,
That
yeah,
was- I love Jeff Bridges and I do love this movie, but that was such nonsense.
Yeah.
Like suddenly he's just magic. Like he has
he
the
is
force.
magic. That's what I'm saying. Like, they put him in such, like, this ability of being straight up God in this fucking world
Yeah.
now, and it
That's
gets a
probably
little ridiculous.
my least favorite thing about the movie, honestly, was how much it was like, hey, look, it's like Jesus in cyberspace. And I was like,
Oh my
oh, come
god.
on, man.
Fucking Clue and Tron is
But you know what's
people.
ironic, Pat? You literally just said how you loved Jeff Bridges being Jesus in cyberspace like 20
No, no, no,
minutes
no,
ago.
no. I love that it's the Big Lebowski in cyberspace because
Oh, fair. Okay.
his character is very much like it. Really is like the Big Lebowski. He's like his mannerisms, the way he talks. It's all very the Big Lebowski.
It's
Yes.
it all together, man.
Yeah. Look, like that's just your opinion, man. Um, he, what I will say, like what I do think they did do a good job of is, um, like in terms of storytelling, from a storytelling standpoint, I think that they did a good job of having Sam's way of handling NCOM. He says like the only way to win is not to play, or Kevin says that to Sam. The only way to
Yeah.
win is to not to play, and
Yeah.
that's how Sam has been handling NCOM.
Uh-huh.
I think they did a good job of mirroring their struggles, and that's how Kevin has been treating Clue, the same way that Sam has been handling NCOM.
Mm.
And
Mm.
I think that when Sam, it's cool that like when Sam confronts Kevin about that, it forces Sam to grow. That's like his
Right.
catalyst to grow. I think that
Right.
the way that they handle that, and mirroring the two, is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that was good. I definitely will give that the depth credit that it deserves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
definitely
don't know.
the music, of course, was
Music was
just.
great.
Oh my god, I hated it.
Music was awesome. No
You
notes.
you hated it, you said?
Oh god, I lived through the 80s and synth music. I no longer want to listen to that.
Oh, word.
I am good.
Yeah, I've been re-enjoying a trip down in my personal life of music, like the aspect of like dark wave and
Mhm.
stuff like that. So like, I can say that having that 80s kind of theme hit was touching the just the right note for me in my life's moment right now, since I am enjoying that genre of music in general as I revisit it. Since I already listened to so much other shenanigans, it's just nice to dive in to something like that, right? So yeah, the soundtrack hit well. And obviously, like, I'm a fan of Daft Punk as a mass performer, etc. Right? So I was like, to me, the soundtrack hit the spot. I just felt the movie was a good action movie. It was generic. It hits notes. If you're familiar with the actors, you can really appreciate things about it. I just think that the movie is way too generic for me, because there are all the generic tropes and the little moments that you expect from all these kinds of, you know, what I would call a generic AAA action movie,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, for sure.
Um, it's all there, and it doesn't carry me through, right? So like, I'm like, oh yeah, and then here's where he looks at the camera and says, "Oh no," you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's definitely tropey, and it's definitely like it hits very familiar plot points, and the
Yeah.
things that you expect to happen are pretty much exactly what happen.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. 100%.
yeah. Um,
100%.
uh, that being said, though,
Was there anything that we normally talk about that we didn't talk about? Because on this one, we kind of dove in pretty deep on some of the subjects, because
I
yeah, like, yeah, I definitely didn't want to skip over anything else per se, but I also did like like the cinematography was not like a shining point for me. You know
no,
what I mean?
no, it
I
wasn't anything special.
I will say that awesome keyhole shot of the light jets taking off with Flynn and Cora. That was that one shot I really liked.
Say that again. The
The
keyhole.
keyhole shot. So it looks like you're looking through a keyhole.
Oh, when it's like you're looking through the disc, right?
Yeah, I think so. Something like that. I just remember it was like a like everything else is blacked out except like right in the center, and you can see them through that.
Yes. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, that was a nice shot.
Word. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think kind of I do agree that like really kind of other than maybe a couple things like that, there really wasn't too much in terms of special
Yeah. It's not like
cinematography or
And
anything.
the light jet scene is the best combat scene of the movie for me personally. I didn't.
agreed. Totally agreed.
The
Totally agreed.
the jets at the end or the light cycles, the motorcycles.
The jets, the light jets at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, that shit was cool when they were like spinning and like the trails from the wings were making those like ribbons in the air.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was very cool. I just love actually I think that scene. I might agree with you there, Andrew. I think that might have been one of the coolest parts for me. Not necessarily because of the jets, but just because of like where they were in in cyberspace. Like if you think about like they were just flying out into this like endless abyss where
Mm-hmm.
there's just nothing but like raw data that like looks like you know rock formations in water, and like something about that and how it like is sort of unknowable to us is like very appealing to me.
Yeah,
That part was cool.
I think
Yeah.
that scene and the costuming is where all the fucking budget went.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, did anybody catch the Wilhelm scream?
Oh yeah, there was a couple, wasn't there?
i I only
I
caught
caught the.
one,
Yeah.
and it's right before Sam enters to get Kevin's disc at the end, and he like kills some dude outside the door, and
Yeah,
as the door's open you hear like it's like a de-resed version of the Wilhelm scream.
that's funny.
Yeah.
That was
Good
the only
call
one.
out. I didn't really think to call that out, but yeah, every episode, if there is a Wilhelm scream, we're gonna have to call that out. Yeah.
I think we should.
Yep.
But yeah, so I mean, like, I don't know. If there wasn't anything else to really, I'm trying to think if there was anything else that I really thought about the movie, but I think I really already touched on it kind of vibe. I don't know. The movie is perfectly acceptable, and as a fan of Jeff Bridges and certain stuff, I liked it, but I do not think they handled the legacy part of the movie very well. You know what I mean? In terms of like, what happened and that aspect of things. You know what I mean? Like I think but it was a good movie. I don't know, averagely good, I guess I would say.
Do we want to rate it?
Yeah, let's go ahead and rate it. Go
What,
ahead.
what do you give it? What do you give it, Pat? Start with you.
If you had asked me when I saw it, I would have originally I would have given you 10 out of 10 pineapples. And if I hadn't have rewatched it and just kind of like went into this raw dog in it, I still would have given you a 10 out of 10. But actually having after having actually watched it for this episode, probably like a 6 or 7 pineapples. Yeah.
That's a heavy drop.
Yeah, I mean, look, it has some pretty glaring issues. I do love the movie. Don't get me wrong, I do. And like a lot of it, I do think that a lot of it is purely nostalgia.
Yeah, it's powered by nostalgia and love of Jeff Bridges. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love of Jeff Bridges.
Yeah. So I was gonna give it a 3. I wrote that down before I even started the movie because I was so perturbed about watching it.
I love you. You're so funny.
Since watching it, and actually more than that, since discussing it with you guys and actually discussing the things that I did like.